The Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner speaks for you. They are a voice for you and everybody else in North Yorkshire, and they represent your priorities to the police and fire services and then make sure the services carry out those priorities.
And what is your number one priority going into the role?
Well, obviously, the main job of the commissioner is to keep people safe and feeling safe. But as the only woman standing and the mother of two daughters, my priority is to drive down violence against women and girls in North Yorkshire. And I want to do this because it's a human rights issue for all of us and we'll all benefit from eradicating it. Obviously, I want to bring in a strategy particularly that targets violence against women and girls, but this strategy will also include men, trans and non-binary people. It's really important that, I say that, but unfortunately it is women and girls that suffer the greatest level of crime. And it really is a big issue in North Yorkshire because we have a very low rate for charge rates for domestic abuse related crime, just 4%. I mean, the top level is only 11%. So you can see nationally we've got an issue, but there's a particular issue in North Yorkshire. I'm worried around domestic violence, safety on the streets. I'm worried about the rape culture in our schools. I'm worried about stalking. I'm worried about a whole host of things. And that's why we need a strategy that really does work multi-agency, collaboratively, and puts it into one single strategy.
So you're talking about combining approaches and having a unified strategy for this. How do you achieve that? You're in charge of you would be not in charge, I beg your pardon, the Commissioner for the Police and Fire, but you'd have to work with other groups as well to ensure that.
Absolutely. No, it's a really good question. And you're right. I mean, one of the main roles of the commissioner is to commission services to support victims. And I would want to put victims at the heart of the strategy. That's really important. So there's a budget of around £4 million to support victims. But that's a drop in the bucket, right? Because it's not just women and girls, it's all victims of crime. So you have to work across councils, across agencies, with the specialist sector, with charities. And that's why you really need a people person in the role, because you've got to bring everybody around the table and say, right, how do we actually join forces and make something happen? It is a people person that you need there doing that. It's not somebody who wants to be a deputy chief constable. It is important to say, though, that when the commissioner draws up the plan, they can set targets for the police. So obviously improving the charge rate, not just for domestic abuse related crime, but for rape and sexual assault is important. And why are the charge rates so low? People have lost faith in reporting crimes to the police because they then don't see anything happening. There's a whole culture. I want to find out what that culture is, and also I believe that we can train our police officers better.
You are this people person then?
Well, I'd like to think so. I have I have spent 20 years basically as a disability campaigner, and I think that's made me quite tough. And it's also made me realise that you only achieve things by agreement and working together and finding out what you actually agree on rather than focusing on division. My son was born with complex needs 22 years ago, and I fought for him all the way. And now this just seems a second, a natural step. I didn't want to be a politician, but I am a people person. I believe in speaking up for the overlooked, the forgotten, and putting things right when things go wrong.
Um, Why do you think that the approach to people's safety has been lacking so far?
Um, I think what we've seen over the last 10 years are terrible cuts to the police service. I'm not blaming individual police officers, and I'm not here to criticise the Chief Constable. We've got a good Chief Constable in Lisa Winwood. I think Tory cuts, £18 million a year worse off, that's the police service. We've got the second worst funded fire service in the country. That obviously there's safety issues around the fire and rescue service as well. Without money, without funding, you cannot deliver a brilliant service. So what has been happening is managing cuts, and therefore safety has gone down the list of priorities.
So, as a Labour politician working under a Conservative government, how can you approach that and try to bring change to that?
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm bringing in our Labour values of community, of cooperation, of fairness, of equality. I'm bringing my voice to fight at a national level, because we are disadvantaged in North Yorkshire from the national funding pie. And I'm using all my skills as Alison Hume to make change happen for the people of North Yorkshire.